One bright morning, the teacher stood before the class, determined to stump her students with a clever question. Scanning the room, her gaze settled on little Johnny, the class troublemaker known for his witty retorts. With a sly smile, she called out, "Johnny, let's see how quick you are today. Tell me, is football male or female?" Johnny, without even blinking, shot back, "Female, miss." The teacher, taken aback by his immediate response, asked, "Really? And why do you say that, Johnny?" Leaning back in his chair with a cheeky grin, Johnny declared, "Because it's always surrounded by boys, chasing after it, fighting over it, and never understanding how to keep it happy for long." A husband and wife woke up on a quiet Sunday morning and sat down to enjoy a relaxed breakfast together. As they were finishing up their coffee, the wife looked up and noticed that her husband was still lounging around in his pajamas, making absolutely no effort to get ready for the morning service. "Honey, why aren't you dressed for church yet?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. The husband shrugged nonchalantly and replied flatly, "Simple. I'm not going today." "And why on earth not?" the wife demanded. "Well, I'll give you 3 pretty solid reasons why I'm staying home," the husband argued, counting them down on his fingers. "First of all, that building is freezing cold in the morning. It's just completely miserable. Second, absolutely nobody there likes me. Every time I walk in, everyone starts whispering and talking about me behind my back. And third, most importantly of all, I just really don't feel like going." The wife smiled calmly, stood up from the table, and looked him straight in the eye. "Well, sweetheart, let me give you 3 even better reasons why you are going," she countered. "First of all, the church isn't freezing at all. The thermostat is set and the building is perfectly warm. Second, I'm reasonably sure that there are at least a few people in the congregation who actually do like you. And third, and most important of all, you're the minister of the church. Now go upstairs and get dressed." A flight crew was coming in to land at an unfamiliar airport. As they lined up on final approach, the pilot squinted out the window. "Pilot, does that runway look short to you?" Co-pilot, "Yeah, definitely shorter than expected." Pilot, "I was sure it was supposed to be longer than that." Co-pilot, "Same here. You sure we're at the right place?" The tension grew as they got closer. Pilot, "All right, full flaps." Co-pilot, "Full flaps set." Pilot, "Be ready with the thrust reversers the moment we touch down." Co-pilot, standing by. Pilot, "And I mean full brakes the second we're on the ground." Co-pilot, "Copy that." They came in hot, but steady. The wheels touched down hard, brakes locked up, thrust reversers roared, rubber screeched, and they came to a halt just barely before the end of the runway. Pilot, "Man, that was tight. Definitely one of the shortest runways I've ever landed on." Co-pilot, "Yeah, no kidding, pauses, but you gotta admit, it's the widest one we've ever seen." A man went to his dentist because he felt something was wrong in his mouth. The dentist examines him and says, "That new upper plate I put in for you 6 months ago is eroding. What have you been eating?" The man replies, "All I can think of is that about 4 months ago my wife made some asparagus and put some stuff on it that was delicious hollandaise sauce. I love it so much I now put it on everything. Meat, toast, fish, vegetables, everything." "Well," says the dentist, "that's probably the problem. Hollandaise sauce is made with lots of lemon juice, which is highly corrosive. It's eaten away your upper plate. I'll make you a new plate, and this time use chrome." "Why chrome?" asks the patient, to which the dentist replies, "It's simple. Everyone knows that there's no plate like chrome for the hollandaise." 5 surgeons were talking about the best patients. The first surgeon says, "Accountants are the best to operate on because when you open them up, everything on the inside is numbered." The second surgeon says, "Nah, librarians are the best. Everything inside them is in alphabetical order." The third surgeon responds, "Try electricians, man. Everything inside them is color-coded." The fourth surgeon intercedes, "I prefer lawyers. They're heartless, spineless, gutless, and their heads and butts are interchangeable." To which the fifth surgeon, who has been quietly listening to the conversation, says, "I like engineers. They always understand when you have a few parts left over at the end. The teacher stood in front of the class and said, "Today, I want each of you to use the word fascinate in a sentence." Molly raised her hand first. "My family went to my granddad's farm," she said, "and we saw his pet sheep. It was fascinating." The teacher smiled. "That's a good sentence, Molly, but I asked for fascinate, not fascinating." Then Sally raised her hand. "My family visited Rock City," she said, "and I was fascinated by the view." "Very nice, Sally," said the teacher. "But again, I need the exact word fascinate." At the back of the room, little Johnny's hand shot up. The teacher froze. She knew little Johnny. She knew his history. She knew every time she trusted him, somehow the lesson ended badly. But she thought, how much trouble can he possibly cause with the word fascinate? So she sighed and said, "All right, Johnny, go ahead." Little Johnny stood up proudly and said, "My Aunt Carolyn has a sweater with 10 buttons." The teacher smiled, relieved. Johnny continued, "But her tits are so big, she can only fascinate." The classroom went silent. The teacher sat down, put her head in her hands, and cried. Two deaf men were in a coffee shop discussing their wives. One signs to the other, "Boy, was my wife mad at me last night. She went on and wouldn't stop." The other buddy says, "When my wife goes off on me, I just don't listen." "How do you do that?" says the other. "It's easy. I turn off the light." One Sunday morning, an old lady headed to church late because she couldn't find her hearing aid. As she was late and did not want to be noticed, she sat in the back, next to a teenager. The pastor began his preaching. To give an example of what he was preaching, he asked, "Everyone who has committed the sin of adultery, stand up." The old lady was wondering why everybody went quiet suddenly and asked the teenager what the pastor just said. He answered that the pastor asked people who wanted mints to stand up. Our nice old lady stood up without a care in the world. The pastor was outraged. He demanded to know why she had stood up. To that, the old lady responded, "I may be old and toothless, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy sucking one from time to time." The zoo owner is becoming concerned because his star attraction, the baboon, is becoming more and more aggressive. He calls an old buddy of his from college, who happens to have been a zoology major. The zoo owner explains what has been going on and asks his friend if there is anything that can be done. Well, his friend says, "I think your baboon is becoming so aggressive because it is time for him to mate. Get him a female baboon, and his aggression should pretty much disappear." The zoo owner does not have a female baboon available. He can't afford one, and even if he could, it would take months to get it. He is walking around the zoo, thinking about what can be done, when he sees his groundskeeper. He has one last, desperate thought. "Hey, come here," he calls to the groundskeeper. "I have a proposition for you. Would you, for $5,000, have sex with the zoo's baboon?" The groundskeeper thinks about this for a few minutes. "Okay," he finally says, "but I have some conditions." "Name your conditions," says the owner. "First, no one can ever know about this. It would be way too embarrassing. Between you and me. Always," promises the owner. "Secondly," says the groundskeeper, "I need a few months to pay you the $5,000.